Tonight, a Call 7 hidden camera exclusive. Fixing a furnace is expensive, but is it always necessary? Call 7 investigator Tony Kovaleski had hidden cameras rolling, and you can see for yourself if furnace repairmen are exaggerating their recommended repairs.
It's one of the most expensive pieces of equipment in your house. Expensive to buy.
It's got an induced draft fan blower motor.
Expensive to repair.
The blower doesn't look like it's in too bad a shape.
Al Reisner has 3 decades of experience working with heaters.
It's a little dusty in here, that's typical.
He's worked as a service tech and now a teacher in Colorado's community college system. Before 7 News put techs to the test, our independent expert inspected the furnace.
Should the techs we call out find any major problems with this furnace?
No, they shouldn't.
Nothing major wrong with it?
Nothing major.
With 3 hidden cameras rolling, 1 overhead, 1 in the rafters, and 1 on the side floor. We randomly selected heater repair companies from throughout the metro area.
When you cleaned your front sensor, it was a little dirty.
Okay. Our cameras watched every move, cleaning, inspecting, hooking up meters, and removing parts.
It's not looking too bad. Look, you don't have a cracked heat exchanger.
In fact, 7 companies agreed with our expert. Their service calls found no major mechanical problems.
No issues, no dangers.
No issues, no dangers.
And here's a key point to remember. Several took meter readings of the furnace's inducer motor, also called a draft motor.
Draft motor, you're running 2.1 amps. That's good.
Everything checks out fine.
The blower motor's running fine. Inducer motor's running fine.
Now listen closely to the technician from AAA service from Arvada. And remember, the others said there were no problems with the inducer motor.
This little fan right here is called an inducer motor. And what it does, it moves your exhaust gases out of the furnace. Okay. The amps on it are running fairly close to the amount allotted for it. And also, there's a lot of oil and grease leaking out of it, so it's probably close to failing just because of the age.
And he went even further on his paperwork, writing, inducer motor failing, should be replaced. The cost to replace that part, $691.
That's aggressive. It's running fine.
Our expert reviewed the hidden camera video and those written estimates.
These guys want this woman to spend $700. Overly aggressive?
They're looking for a sale. They're looking to improve their cash flow for the day.
What I would say about a company did that, I think they're reaching.
Scott Blashaw manages one of the companies that passed our test. His tech, like the others, found nothing wrong with the inducer motor.
Did this furnace need any major repair? Any major part replacement?
It did not. It did not.
Tony Kovaleski with 7 News. 7 other companies came out, did the very same inspection, looked at the very same furnace, and your company is the only one that said we needed a $700 part. Isn't that a little aggressive?
I disagree completely.
He's a manager for AAA service, justifying the repair recommendation and declining to review the video from our hidden cameras.
Why not come in and look at the videotape of what your guy said? And then you can defend that position. Sir, your employees, your crew said we needed to spend $700. Apparently, it's not necessary.
A few days later, one of the company's owners and another manager reviewed our hidden camera video and their written estimate. They released this statement reading in part, "We are disappointed in how this preventative repair on a 15-year-old furnace with a leaking inducer fan motor was presented to the customer. This recommendation should have been presented as just that, a recommendation."
It's probably close to failing.
It's intriguing. Let the buyer beware.
The letter from AAA service also said they take this issue very, very seriously, promising to work to ensure 100% customer satisfaction. Now, if you are wondering about the companies that passed the test, the 7 that found no major mechanical problems, we have listed their names on our website at thedenverchannel.com. Buyer beware, Ann.
Fascinating. Another reason to get estimates, Tony.
Exactly.
Right. Thank you.
Buyer beware. So it appears that we've sided here on this news coverage with 6 or 7 contractors who said nothing was wrong. One contractor, to recap, identified oil leaking, a 15-year-old unit, and a high amp draw. I noted that this wasn't touched on by anyone else, but it also was not spoken against. No one said that there was no oil, it wasn't drawing a high amp, and it wasn't 15 years old. So what are your thoughts on that, Cherie?
I was concerned that everybody called that aggressive, which isn't, it's not a positive term to be called when you're making recommendations about the safety. And I just think that it's a shame that he was being very nice and informative, but because he said that she needed a repair that was going to cost money, the society or culturally or just the media called it aggressive.
I agree. So, number one, I want us to be aware of news coverage about what we're doing and how it can easily be misconstrued. I like to think that we move with integrity, but it is our job to let customers know what's down the line. Because while this particular furnace might have been running fine, they all run fine until they don't, right? And on a preventative maintenance check, the goal, and that's what this was, a preventative maintenance, and the guy made a preventative maintenance or repair recommendation. The goal here is to help clients get in front of this stuff before they're without heat, struggling, calling whoever they can, having pipes freeze. So the idea here, this was a wintertime checkup, the way that I read it, was to help the client proactively take care of an issue that was likely to become a problem. Leaking oil out of a motor is never good, like ever. It should never happen. And high amp draw means you're dealing with excessive heat, which can cause, as they mentioned in the article, overheating of the motors and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that we're walking that fine line when we're on our maintenance checks, when we're selling our maintenance plan. I like to let customers know that we will make proactive recommendations. Let me know if you agree, Cherie. It looks like the main problem here, and that's what they identified, was that they didn't clearly state on paper that this was a recommendation, a proactive recommendation. Because if you listen and watch the video again, you'll see that the gentleman did say it's probably going to fail. So I would have worked with him on his language and presentation of reality, because it's true. It's leaking oil. It's overheating. It's overamping. It's 15 years old. So chances are that it will fail. I didn't see a follow-up for this story 3 months later to see how that inducer motor ran through the winter. And we didn't talk about the facts. Again, no one denied that it was leaking oil or amping high. Did the guys check it? Did they see it? We don't know. But oftentimes, folks will want to, defer to whatever is more convenient to them at the time. So 7 guys said it's all good. 1 guy identified a problem. That turned into this guy is a bad guy. So yeah, you will have to be the bad guy sometimes, but that's where our communication and language and clarity comes into play. Cherie, how do you think he should have approached the challenge of the leaking motor, the 15-year-old system, knowing what you know about HVAC, not even being a tech? Like, how would you have approached that homeowner with that information?
Well, I think in this news story, that if he started out with everything's working fine and everything's running, if he started out with that and then said, I do see in the future, he said probably will fail, which makes it sound like a future thing, but it obviously can get distorted, especially when the documentation says the inducer motor needs to be replaced. So if they don't catch all the words that the technician said, they're not remembering, like he said, it probably would fail. They're referring back to the document. So I think a clear document stating, everything's working fine at this time and that their future recommendation would be to replace. I can't imagine what would happen if he would have started pitching a new furnace. They probably would have found him and hung him.
I mean, if you follow this logic of this article, it means that you shouldn't take proactive measures on anything until you're up, what's creek.
Yeah.
And then you should take action, which doesn't really make sense. By the nature of a preventative maintenance check, you're trying to catch problems and address them before they become issues. So as we all know, I think we all can agree, the news is here to entertain. And you call 7 guys out, 6 of them say it's all good, 1 finds a real issue and presents it wrong. Well, you've got thousands of dollars tied up in this story, in this location. I believe that they did what they had to do to create a story.
I didn't even think about that, yeah. That's some money tied up in it, and the customer, so.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a strong story. You have a 15-year-old unit. Why would you do a news story on a 15-year-old unit? Why wouldn't it be the 3-year-old unit to see if anybody was doing something funky, not on the really old unit where you know guys are going to try to proactively make some moves out there? I believe that they got a bunch of below average technicians from random companies to come out who did a partial job. You know, no one mentioned that, hey, the motor's amping high, but it's okay. Apparently it was everything's all good. You know, someone should have been able to tell them, like, hey, this has a certain rating, it's above that rating, and what that means is that it may fail sooner than later. How long, I can't say how long, I just know that it's spec'd out. I compare that to milk, yogurt. It has an expiration date. Can you eat it a day after the expiration date? Maybe, it's probably okay. But should you? Probably not, because you're risking your health, your comfort, your life sometimes when going past the recommended mark. With these motors, they all have a stamped rating made by the engineers, the manufacturer, who say, after this point, we can expect for this motor to go. So I believe that the guy had good intent. He was giving factual information. He just didn't lay it out clearly and explain to the homeowner that it was a recommendation to be proactive. And that's what I want us to do. I want us to be able to tell a guy, look, you got a 15-year-old unit. You know, you got a motor that doesn't look like it's in the best of shape, but it's still running. And I recommend an upgrade because this, and that, to help avoid these challenges and issues. It may last another year, it may last another 2 years. It might go out tomorrow.
So you can be completely honest and still potentially help the customer, help the company. And then I think that's a good point too, because when it does fail, you had already warned them about it. Because one of the biggest calls we get after tune-ups is that when something broke, and then why didn't they tell me about it on the tune-up? But when you tell them about it on the tune-up, I'm sure they're not thrilled to hear it. But if you don't tell them, they're going to even be more pissed that you didn't warn them. So
I would say, ask yourself what's worse. Not telling them anything's wrong and then it breaks after you said it was okay, good to go, or getting the customer a little upset because every time we come out we're making recommendations that serve them and their home and their benefit. I choose the latter. You know, let them be a little frustrated that we have recommendations as opposed to us doing a tune-up, telling them it's okay, and then it fails shortly after. All of these guys told this client, this homeowner, on this news story that everything was just fine. It's running well. And there's a difference between it being fine and running well. One of my favorite analogies is, you know, you can drive your car without oil. You probably get to the store just fine. It's running fine until it's not. 15-year-old unit, oil leaking, high amp draw. For us, I believe everyone agrees it's cut and dry. One of the main purposes of this story is to expose to you what your consumer has to take in. They're designing it for them not to trust us, and I believe maybe in some situations, rightfully so, there are some unscrupulous contractors who don't know what they're doing and want to create sales opportunity. I think this was a great opportunity to help that client, but they had to present it properly. They didn't deserve to be blasted on a news story. They deserve to have the technician do a little training on writing paperwork. He's a technician. He's not a daggone, writer, a professional writer. He had a conversation with a customer, laid it out, wasn't as clear as it should have been, and the news story took it and ran with it. But you have to be aware that that is what people are dealing with, and that's what you're dealing with. A natural inclination to distrust you while you're trying to help. And that's okay. We deal with this stuff. We have to be able to combat it, but you have to know what's out there. While you're trying to help people, you could be dealing with them thinking you're trying to hurt them. So I definitely want you guys to take some time, learn about these news stories, browse the YouTube, look at what, if you search HVAC maintenance, these are half of the results. It's talking about scams and whatnot. So, and then you also have some contractors and companies out here that don't do maintenance or sell maintenance, and they'll tell the customer it's a waste of time and money, right? So make sure you're well-versed on showing your customer the value of the plan and really being clear about your findings and your purpose. Our purpose is to find issues that may become a problem, like leaking motors, overamping motors that may fail sooner than later, so they have the opportunity to take care of it ahead of hand. That is the main value of the maintenance plan. The preventative maintenance plan is to take care of issues before you're in the middle of needing the equipment and now you're struggling dealing with us when you need to be at work or taking care of your kids or something. Thoughts?
I was watching some videos on YouTube that was little testimonials from HVAC customers, and one of the ladies did say it really well. She said that, hey, I like knowing what might be in store later so I can plan for it. So even if it's not broke, so, you know, if it's working fine and it's not broke, there's nothing wrong with telling them so that they can plan. And just to be clear, that this is so that to help you plan, to help you budget, to know what's coming in the future. And I think that's probably the best way to, I would be able to feel fine with that if my mechanic said, you know, your belt's got a crack in it, it's fine now, it might break soon, so you're gonna wanna bring it in at some point and go ahead and get that fixed. I would appreciate that more than a huge estimate for a bunch of stuff that's not broke yet, but will. And then I make the choice if I wanna spend the money now, or if I wanna wait 4 weeks and spend the money then and just hope that it lasts.
I think that's the key, is making sure the customer feels and understands, because they always do, but they need to feel that you're presenting them with a choice. One of the reasons we love to give multiple options, people like to choose. They don't like to be sold, they like to buy. So when you explain to them what happens, you explain to them what it looks like, and you show them a couple different pathways on how they can proceed. Usually when folks truly understand and trust and believe you, they want to choose a pathway that leads to the least amount of friction for them. But the key there is just them choosing. That is one problem I had with this ad, or this article, this video, is it didn't appear in the paperwork side he gave a choice. I don't think it was a bad company doing bad things. I just think that the technician didn't clearly lay out that she had a choice. You can wait for it to fail, and what will happen is the heat won't work. You're at no safety risk at all. You just have no heat till I can come out, diagnose it, then I got to order this motor. It takes a couple days for it to come in, so you're looking at 3-4 days without heat if you wait for it to fail. But that's your choice. Or we could take care of it now, and then you just don't have to worry about it. I think if you put that on the end of it, it would have been a great call. And if it was a real customer, not a bait type of situation, that client might have been likely to go ahead with that repair. Because who wants to be without heat in the middle of the winter, right?
She may have went with the repair, we don't even know. She might have been like, yeah, give a new motor.
I know, right? It's possible. But I know that whole thing was set up. I'm sure they picked those companies and that particular customer and that furnace to try to get a good story, right? Because a good story isn't, hey, we called 8 contractors out and they all were honest and great, here's their name. You'll never see that on the air. It just doesn't happen. They're always looking for that one. And it looks like they did a lot of work. 8 visits, cameras, crew, each visit, hour and a half. So they put a lot of work and time and energy into this thing only to find one contractor who just didn't communicate super clear on the invoice, and they had to lay on it and hammer it. But if you're a typical homeowner watching this, looks like HVAC guys are terrible, and you got to watch out. That's what the tone of this video, this article was. So I wanted to share this and talk about it so that way you know what's out there. You can lay on the real value of your membership plan and make sure you're always giving customers options on how to proceed. And when you're selling the membership, you got to let them know what you're going to be doing, because this is highly valued. It's highly valued to know that someone will be checking it to see if there's any problems brewing up so you can jump in front of them. Imagine you went to the doctor. Let's follow the logic of this video. You know where I'm going. Imagine you went to the doctor and you're like, I want to get a checkup. And the doctor's like, oh, your liver's looking a little fatty there, but it works fine. And then some other doctor says, hey, your liver's getting fatty, maybe we should put you on some treatment. Does that doctor turn into a bad guy because he wants to proactively take care of you, knowing that your liver might stay just as fatty as it is for 10 years or continue to progress? So to put you on proactive treatment to try and take care of the issue before, it's the end of the game, we accept that. There's nothing wrong with that. When it comes to a machine, no. What we're supposed to just let it die, when we know that it will fail. No one's going to disagree that machines motors break and fail. And when we have signs of imminent failure, why should we not proactively look to take care of those issues, right? Major problem with that video, but we got to understand the context. It's the news trying to make news. You know what I mean? But again, the point is, this is what your customers experience. This is the type of stuff that they see. So we have to be bigger and better than that and counteract it with good facts and data and high-level communication. So that brings us into our membership plan and what it does for the client, right? Let's end this video. We'll make it a short one. Let's end this video with, top 3 benefits to a client of the membership plan. Cherie, hit me with one.
They really like not paying their diagnostic fees and the lifetime, I'm hitting you with 2, and the lifetime warranty on repairs. Yeah, those are the top 2.
Yeah, those are very powerful. Most people don't want to pay fees just to see what's wrong. They accept it, doctor's visit, copay, auto mechanic diagnostic, they accept it. But it's one of the last things they want to do because you don't get anything other than knowing what you need to spend. You got to spend money to see how much you got to spend. So major benefit. When you're talking with the clients, lay up on that because as Cherie said, that's one of the number one things that they appreciate is not having to spend money to see how much money they need to spend. It's very powerful. And then the lifetime guarantee on repairs. Most of them don't know about it, and they're still buying the plan. Imagine if you guys were really educating clients that when they get something fixed under the plan and we're continuing to take care of the equipment, that we're covering the future repairs on that item. When we replace a motor and we're keeping it clean every year consistently, when and if that motor fails again, we got you covered. That's very powerful, especially if they had to buy a part in the first place. Excuse me. If you're dealing with a customer who's buying a motor from you, they don't have a membership, or they're feeling the pain of having to buy the motor and pay the service call and do all of these things. So it's an excellent entryway into the membership. Well, let's get this motor now, let's throw the membership on here, and then never have to worry about buying motors again.
And getting the discount.
And getting the discounts, the priority, quicker service, all the other great benefits. But you made a great point with the lifetime repairs. What would you say, from your standpoint, is the third benefit that you hear about or you think resonates the most with clients?
So that's a good question. So no, those are the top 2. They like to feel like they get priority service, so they come first. Yeah, they like the special offers too. I'm gonna say that's a big one. Is that we do send members $100 off dryer vent cleanings. They get the special deals when we're doing duct cleanings. They get the $99. Nobody's ever told me like, hey, I really like that you send me emails with special offers, but they do respond to them well, and I haven't gotten any complaints about not sending them. So I think part of it is being a VIP.
Yeah.
They get the special offers, they get the special treatment. I guess to wrap it up, it would be to be a VIP and a part of like a member.
I agree. I think the special offer really lays into the exclusivity of being a member, being ahead of the line, getting special prices, right? Just being taken care of better than your neighbor might be. People love that. So let's take those top 3 benefits that Cherie shared. Cherie works a lot on the marketing and the message, and I think with you following up behind that message that she's putting out with your clients, knowing that it resonates, that could also help really move the needle for you. And not only get a membership, but how about a 3-year membership, a 5-year membership? If we have success with the multi-year memberships, we do seek to roll out even longer memberships that have a better price point for the client and a better reward for he or she who sells that membership. But we like to be able to do a bunch of 3s and the 5s before we roll out 7s and 10s to make sure that we're on the right pathway. So please, let's get them cranking. More comments. Let us know what else you need to hear about, learn about, know about, so we can touch base on it for you. And that will wrap us up for today.